Welcome back to The Grind. Today I wanted to answer a question that I've received a couple times from people, and a question that I had myself that I struggled with for quite a while before I finally made the decision. And that is, how do you know when you're ready to build a second Flak tower, especially as a free-to-play player? Now, that's not a very easy question to ask. The answer, I think, is different for every person. I'm just going to kind of discuss how and when I decided and what kind of my thoughts are for recommending to you to help you decide whether or not you're ready. So my first Flak was, of course, the dark Flak, and it took me a long time to decide when to start a second one because I didn't know if I would be able to maintain enough embers, which is really the key thing. Is you really want to have both towers maxed, because you don't want to have two Flak towers, but to keep them both equal level, they end up being 5 levels below max for your level. Then it's better to just have the one Flak tower because it'll be doing an exponentially greater amount of damage. Now, the other trouble I had was, how do I decide which tower to build as a second Flak? So first, let's discuss how do you know you're ready to support a second Flak tower as far as resources go. So I don't remember what level I was, between 80 and 100, I think, maybe roughly, when I decided to build a second Flak tower. And at the time, I had about 30,000 extra elemental embers, and each level was about 2,000 at the time. Let's see if it doesn't show me there. So 2,000 elemental embers at the time, and I looked up the cost to get a second Flak to max level for my level, and it was going to be about 20,000, I think. So it was going to be less than what I had, and in that same event, if I needed it, I would still be able to afford a couple more levels on both Flaks to keep them at max for my level, of course, because I would be leveling during that event. So it really depends on that as the main thing, is can you get it to max right away? Because there's no point in having a half-leveled Flak tower on your base. So that's the first thing. Do you have enough surplus to get it to max and still have some extra? The next is, are you in a position to continue earning a high amount of embers to keep them both maxed for the next several levels or rounds of fortification? And to determine that, you kind of just have to see how long it took you to get that extra elemental ember. And you have to be willing potentially to pick a season line like the base boost, which has a lot more elemental embers in the rewards, if you find yourself running short during one of the seasons. And or even in addition to that, maybe even opening gold chests during the fortification event, where you will be able to get more elemental embers dropped from the chest. If you feel like that's something you're willing to do at some point, should the time come where you don't have enough elemental embers as you're getting them to higher levels and requiring more for the upgrade, then you might, if you meet both of those criteria, then you might be ready to start another Flak tower. Now, if you're only around level 80 to 100 or barely over 100, you might not need to be in a rush to build a second Flak. So if you're not sure, there's no harm in waiting. It's much better to wait and be sure rather than start it and then regret it after. As far as which Flak to choose, that's a really difficult question to answer. It really depends on where you think you're going with your base and what your preference is. I don't think you can go wrong really with any of them. The Earth Flak is great. It's kind of like a better storm tower. However, if you're only going to have 2 Flaks for a long time, you might rather have a Flak that does more damage and just keep using the storm tower for the shield. I chose the Fire Flak because it does a pretty good amount of damage, and I like that if you use the super shot on it at the right time, the time where the dragon is going to be doing a major amount of damage to your base, you can reduce that by a significant amount, which will allow your towers to stay alive longer and do more damage to the dragon and shoot down more dragons. The Electro Flak is great because it increases the damage from the other Flaks, but again, if it's just a dark Flak and as your 1 hour other tower, it's not as worth it as if you had 3, obviously. The Ice Flak is a great one because more and more dragons are having spells with white spells, which obviously the mage towers do nothing against, and the Ice Flak does. And that can really screw up a lot of dragons because it removes their full defense system and their ability to do damage. So that's a good one too. But again, you just kind of got to decide what you want and I don't think any of them are really a terrible option. I don't know if I'll be going for a third flak anytime soon. Probably not. I probably won't consider it until I'm closer to level 250 probably, but I'm pretty close to another 30k excess again. And currently at level 43, it would take 40,000 elemental embers to get it to level 43. So I don't even have enough to bring a third flak up to max at this point, let alone continue leveling the ones I have and keep them all at that level. And it'll get harder to do that as I continue to level them up. I hope that was helpful in helping you decide whether or not you're ready to build a second flak tower. Definitely take your time with the decision, do some research on the flaks to help decide which one you want, and try to get an idea of how much elemental embers you're earning each season, and definitely check how much it'll take to get the second flak to max for your level, so you can have right away 2 fully leveled up towers when you make that decision. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section if you have experience with this, if you've maybe made a mistake and learned something from it that you can share in addition. Let me know in the comments section, and we'll see you in the next video.